We have reconstructed space. We have reconstructed time. We have reconstructed physical law. We have reconstructed the observer. But every step began from one primitive structure: difference. So now we reach the final question. Not how reality evolves, not how geometry emerges, not how observers appear, but something deeper. Why is there distinguishability at all? Everything began from distinguishability, the ability for one state to differ from another. We call this DSI-SJ. But now we must ask, why does distinguishability exist at all? Why is there any D? Why can D be non-zero? Why is there any difference at all? Why is reality not a single, undifferentiated state? If D were zero, there would be no distinguishable states, no information, no time, no observer, no reality. Everything collapses into non-differentiation. This means the entire framework stands on one question: why is there difference? All reality depends on this first distinction. At this point, physics reaches a boundary. Physics describes existing structures, but now we are asking about the condition for structure itself. This is where physics reaches its limit, and foundational metaphysics begins. Not mysticism, but the rigorous question of why there is any structure to describe. There are three possible ways to approach the problem. Each has power, each has difficulty. Let us examine them one by one. The first possibility is simple. D is primitive. Distinguishability is not derived from anything deeper. It is the starting point. Just as some theories begin with energy, fields, or space-time, this framework may begin with difference. We accept it as the first fact. The strength is clarity. Once D exists, the chain can begin with mathematical precision. The foundation is clean. But the weakness remains. If D is primitive, we still have not answered why D exists. We have only moved the mystery to the first step. The second possibility is deeper. Maybe D is not merely assumed, maybe difference is unavoidable, inevitable. Imagine total indistinguishability. No state differs from any other state. No contrast. Perfect indifference. But if everything is completely indistinguishable, can we even say everything? Can we say same? The language of description itself fails. Every description already requires a distinction. A term differs from what it is not. Even the concept of nothing differs from something. If total indistinguishability cannot even express itself, then perhaps non-zero distinguishability is unavoidable. It is the condition for logic. This does not prove the answer, but it suggests that difference is not added to reality. It is the condition for any reality to be expressible at all. The third possibility is the most radical. Maybe D itself is not fundamental. Maybe distinguishability emerges from something deeper. But then we must ask, what gives rise to D? What is the unknown structure before distinguishability? What is the U that implies difference? This is extremely difficult, because any explanation seems to require difference already. To explain D, we use the tools that D provides. This is where the current framework reaches its boundary. It can explain what follows from D. It does not yet explain the origin of D itself. Once D is non-zero, we can generate update, selection, information, and reality. We can explain why the universe has the laws it does. But the framework does not yet answer why there is D at all. We have reached the edge of the known logic. This is not a weakness. It is a boundary. A serious theory must show not only what it explains, but also what it does not. This is scientific honesty. Newtonian mechanics explained motion beautifully, but it did not explain why mass exists. It accepted mass as a given. Einstein explained gravity through space-time geometry. But general relativity does not tell us why space-time exists at all. It is the starting assumption. Quantum mechanics works inside Hilbert space, but it does not fully explain why that specific mathematical structure exists. This framework explains the emergence of reality after distinguishability exists, but its final boundary is clear. Why is there distinguishability? Maybe this question has no final answer, because every answer creates a new distinction. Every explanation requires another difference behind it. If we say X creates D, then immediately another question appears. What distinguishes X from not X? Where did that difference come from? This may produce an infinite regress. Every explanation requires another distinction behind it. We may never find the final floor. So two paths remain. We may accept D as a primitive, or we may search for a deeper theory that explains distinguishability itself. In its current form, the framework begins with D. Difference is the first primitive structure. From there, the rest of the chain unfolds. These two must not be confused. The framework explains how D implies reality, but it does not yet explain what implies D. The full structure now becomes visible. An unknown boundary, difference, update, selection, information, geometry, reality, then the observer. The deepest mystery may not be why reality evolves. It may be why there is distinguishability at all, why there is 1 and 0. This framework attempts to explain how reality can emerge. But the final question remains open. Why is there any difference at all? If this question is ever answered, we will have reached a level deeper than difference, a level before the first structure of reality. Until then, the boundary remains. Every theory has a boundary. This is ours.